Yeah.
Back Chat with Mick and Rowe on Wicked 107.2.
So our first guest on the show tonight is a guy that grew up in Wicklow Town before moving across the water to become a professional footballer in the English Football League to try to make it as a goalkeeper. He joined Leeds United Youth Academy in 2000 before moving to Nottingham Forest in 2001. Spending 5 years at the club, he made his move to Chesterfield for 3 years before his most recent move to Morecambe in 2008, where he is now a coach after 12 long years between the sticks for the Shrimps. Lads, Barry Roche is on the show. Barry, welcome along. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you here on this sunny evening. Is it sunny where you are tonight?
Yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous.
It's amazing. And you're out of lockdown as well.
Yeah, the beer gardens are now open.
That must be heaven. We wouldn't have a clue what that's like here.
I know, it's been a long time. It's been awful for everyone.
And Barry, do you have any people at the matches yet you're in League 2, yeah?
We're League 2. No, there's no one at our matches either.
Still no one allowed. Okay.
No, still no one allowed. They're talking about maybe the playoff final allowing. Obviously, we're in with a chance of the playoffs at the minute. Yeah. They're talking about obviously a vastly reduced capacity at Wembley for that. I think it's dependent on how the League Cup final goes, and I think maybe the FA Cup semi-finals with fans. But there's been no decision made yet.
Okay, so we live in hope that there will be a crowd allowed there.
It'll be brilliant. Yeah. It's been a very, very different. It's been a very different season. No, it took certainly the lads who were playing. It took them a lot of time to get used to it.
Yeah.
And there's no comparison. It's just not the same game without fans there.
And that's the thing. We all watch football. We all watch soccer, and we all feel like, would our team have done different if we had the crowd behind them and stuff? You know, it's you ask the questions, but then the team has to perform on the pitch, give them whatever, you know. But it is for the players, for you. That's what you miss.
Yeah, you do get the extra boost from having fans there. You know, the atmosphere, the match day buzz, really.
Yeah,
the match day buzz,
the whole package.
For me, there's nothing like it. Walking out in front of a few thousand fans, it's brilliant. So that's been missed by everybody.
Well, Barry, tell us about your time growing up in Wicklow before you headed across. Tell us about you grew up in Wicklow Town. You were actually a tennis player for a good few years.
Yeah, I played a bit of everything in Wicklow. I played football, I played GAA, I played tennis. I just loved playing sport, and obviously it got to the stage where things started to get a bit more serious with football. So I obviously had to make a decision, and I'm very obviously grateful and thankful that I made that decision.
Yeah. And so you played with Leicester Celtic in Rathfarnham for a few years. You also played with Wicklow Town. Up the town, towny till you die.
Absolutely, yeah. I had a year with Wicklow Town under Butch Dawn, and we had I think it was under 10, so we had a great little team, and league and cup champions, and it was a brilliant year. I actually played outfield.
No way.
I played in centre midfield. I don't know how I got around the pitch, because I certainly couldn't do that now. But goalkeeping was always what I really wanted to do. So I went back up to Leicester Celtic till under 15s before I came over here.
Okay, and how long were you with Leicester Celtic before you got picked up for across the way?
I got picked up, I think, about under 13s level. So I played for Leicester Celtic from under 8s.
Okay.
And then I was a year out playing with Town, and then back to Leicester Celtic under 11s, and then sort of I got the call that there was a club interest in under 13s, and would I be willing to go across on trial? And obviously it was a no-brainer.
Yeah,
There's never going to be any doubt in my mind. So I was lucky, and lucky that it was Leeds United that I got a chance to go across and play for.
Amazing. And a lot of Leeds fans in Wicklow Town, my father being one of them, and neighbours beside us being more. So I was jammed in there with, I'm not a Leeds fan myself, but I can feel their passion for Leeds. And I'd say when a club like that comes calling, you don't say no.
Oh, you don't say no, absolutely. And I actually knew quite a bit about Leeds because, my best friend Brian Teven, his dad, Dennis Teven's a big Leeds fan.
Yes, yeah.
So, we spent a lot of time down their house, and, Doc would always talk about Leeds. So, it was such a big club, and they had such a renowned youth setup, producing, really, really good players, a lot of Irish players, like the likes of Ian Hart, Gary Kelly, Steve McPhail, to name a few. So it was a no-brainer. As soon as I found out they were interested, it was like, right, when can I go?
And how did the process work? So did you just go straight over and you were immersed in Leeds United, or was it you go over for a few days, come back, then you go over a few weeks later? How does it work?
They invited me over for a week's trial in the school holidays, and obviously depending on how the week's trial goes, depending on whether you're asked back, but it went really well. And they actually, after the week's trial, they offered me a deal for when I was 16.
No way.
So I was like, yeah, no problem. I'll sign. Of course, I'll sign
exactly.
it.
Yeah.
So it was a case of between 13 and 15, every school holidays you'd go over for a week, or spend a few days there. And Paul Hart was the manager in the youth team then, but when I was 15, he left and went to join Nottingham Forest.
Okay.
And he basically said, listen, obviously I know you agreed to sign for me at Leeds, but I'm moving to Forest. Will you at least just come and have a look?
Yeah.
So I said, yeah, of course I will, because he was one of the main reasons that I agreed to sign for Leeds, because he's such a brilliant man, a brilliant manager. And I went over and spent a week with Forest and instantly fell in love with the place and thought, right, well, this is the one for me.
Excellent. So, and how you just slotted in? Paul brought you across. You slotted in with Forest. Yeah,
it was a really easy place to fit in because there was so many Irish. When we got the flight over, it was the day after. It was actually the day after England got knocked out of the World Cup by Argentina in '98.
Yeah.
I think there was 6-7 of us Irish on the plane.
Oh
so it was, and we all lived in the one big house together, and there was. Andy Reid, Keith Foy were already over there amongst others. So, it really was a home away from home.
And again, Forest having all of that European Cup glory a few years previous, you were going to a club that had a passion for winning trophies. So, again, another no-brainer. Yeah,
it was. It was a no-brainer because they're a massive club, steeped in, fantastic history. They just got promoted back to the Premier League the year we went over. So we were going over, and every Saturday or every other Saturday after the match, matches were in the morning. You'd go and watch a Premier League game. So it was incredible, absolutely incredible. And we were very, very fortunate to be in that position.
And obviously, places were fierce in the team, so you were working hard to try and get your place with Forest.
Yeah, I went over injured because I did my knee playing for Leicester Celtic. So I had a knee operation about 6 weeks before, a month to 6 weeks before I was due to go over. So the first 4 weeks were quite hard because everyone's out on the training pitch. You're stuck in the gym doing physio work. But as soon as you get back in the training pitch, you realise how serious it is and how professional it is, and no slacking off, no messing around. This is the real deal, and you have to get to grips with that quite quickly, because when you go from training a couple of nights a week with schoolboy football to all of a sudden you're training twice a day every day.
Yeah,
it is quite difficult to get used to, because it's a completely different world. But it was all I ever wanted to do from sort of 10, 11 years old. So I jumped in with 2 feet and absolutely loved it. Okay, so appearance wise with Nottingham Forest, 13 appearances between the 4 years you were there. Obviously hard to get your place, but that's the way it is there. You moved to Chesterfield in 2005. Yeah, I got, as I said, there was 13 appearances. I never did enough to break into the Forest team, on a permanent basis, which is fair enough that, it happens. And then I got a move to Chesterfield in 2005. I spent 3 years there playing every week. You'll be honest, things went sour in the last year. My performance has dipped, and I'll be honest, I fell out with the home crowd. Okay. I made a mistake in one of the games, and the dogs abuse from my own fans, and I turned around and reacted. And as soon as you do that, the writing's on the wall. I know I shouldn't have done that, but I was a lot younger, and
but you're passionate. When you're passionate like that, it's hard to not let it spill over. And
it is, because in the heat of the moment, you're playing in the game, and there's and there's 300 or 400 of your own fans giving you absolutely dog's abuse from behind, I just reacted and I said, certainly in the later stages of my career, I never would have done, but it happened.
Yeah.
I asked to leave. They said, yeah, no problem.
Okay.
And then, because I still had a year left on my contract.
Yeah.
And then Morecambe came calling. And
did you have to put the feelers out, Barry, to try and find another club after that, or?
Well, yeah, because I had a year left on my contract, I was I wanted to leave, but if nothing came up, there was no rush because obviously I still had a year left.
There,
but I had an agent at the time. He put the feelers out, said, "Listen, Barry's available," and then all of a sudden I had a phone call from Sammy McElroy, which was I was back home for the summer with my folks, and I remember just sitting in the conservatory and the phone rang, and then it's Sammy McElroy, and I was like, "What else?"
Jesus.
Sammy McElroy. it was quite a surreal moment. He asked me to come up, have a look around and see what I thought. I did.
Yeah.
And I just got a really good feel for the place. And it was nice after the year I'd had to have someone say, right, we want you, come up here and be our number one. So I made the decision to go up. Well,
you definitely you turned heads there. I mean, player of the season twice. You obviously with the fans and stuff, you really fitted in. I mean, you stayed there for 12 years, and to this day, you're still there. So you've obviously done something right.
Yeah, it was. I felt at the time, because obviously after the disappointment at Chesterfield, my confidence was low, my form had dipped, and the people at Morecambe put their faith in me. The manager, the staff, the goalkeeper. Actually, who was he was with me up until last year.
Yeah.
They built me back up again, and they gave me confidence in myself. And ultimately that showed on the pitch. And I was happy, I was confident, I was feeling good. And when that happens, your form tends to be good, and thankfully that was the case.
Yeah. So an all round good, great feeling of a club. That's what it does to your confidence. It brings on your playing ability, and you start to produce the quality that you do show. So that's what it's all about. You found your club that you really wanted to, be with and perform for.
Yeah, absolutely. I always had confidence in my ability, but when things don't go your way, you do start to doubt, or you do start whether things are going to work out the way you wanted. But I started off well at Morecambe, and then it just kept going like that. I found somewhere where I loved playing. I don't know whether it sounds stupid or not, but if you feel appreciated, you feel wanted.
Of course,
it certainly in my position, it brought more out of me on the pitch.
Of course, yeah, definitely. So much so, you scored a goal, and it was massive news.
A 40-yard volley in off the crossbar.
It was amazing. Back here in Ireland, it was the biggest news, and in the UK as well. So I mean. And you've made a name for yourself, not just by being a goalkeeper in the English League football, by scoring a goal as a goalkeeper in the English League. Like, amazing. I know I've watched videos, and I know other people have watched, and you've seen it and talked about it loads of times, but, it must have been a proud moment. I mean, the fans, when you scored, the reaction from the fans, it was amazing.
It's hands down one of the best feelings I've ever had in the football pitch. And it's funny because I've been up for, the manager was always, listen, if it's the last couple of minutes, I'd have a little look over, he'd wave me up.
Yeah.
And, it's an added presence in the box. I'm 6'5", so it's going to be, it's going to be a danger. But, I've got my head on a couple in previous years. I'd put one on the roof of the bar, one cleared off the line. But there was something about that night that as soon as I'd gone up, I thought, I'm scoring here.
Yeah.
Because they obviously, it's always chaos in the opposition box when the goalkeeper comes up, because everyone's got their set man, their set position to pick up. So someone was sent out to pick me up. And I just distinctly remember him just sort of looking at me and almost going, oh no.
No, yeah.
And I thought, right, he's not going to get near me.
You slipped him, and that was it.
Oh yeah, my movement and my speed was terrific. I slipped and just a little sort of run one way and went the other. And it was literally just a glancing header, and there wasn't much on the header. But the fact is, the goalkeeper, there was 3 or 4 their players who'd gone for it, but their goalkeeper had come out to try and punch it behind them.
Yeah,
So literally, all I did, glancing header into an empty net, and the feeling was absolutely.
Do you know what? It's
unbelievable.
It's FIFA stuff. It's like 94th minute equaliser to secure a 1-1 draw against Portsmouth.
Yeah,
it's something that we do every evening when we're playing football. We do score. The goalkeeper's up and away you go, and it's fairy tale stuff, Barry. Brilliant.
It was madness. The whole world went crazy for 48 hours. I was driving home. Talk Sports, one of the big radio stations over here. Can we do an interview with you? Yeah, no problem. And then I remember I'd taken the kids trampoline in the next day.
Yeah.
And I had a phone call saying, Sky Sports want to do an interview with you. No problem. When are they going to ring? He says, no, they want to do a live interview. It's just, what you mean a live? It says, they want to come into your house. I'm like,
no way.
Are you kidding me? So it was a quick rush home, clean and tidy up the living room, and then all of a sudden Sky Sports were doing a live interview through my living room. It was
Brilliant.
But
again,
it was madness.
A great for the club as well, Barry. To have Morecambe, put up there. It's just brilliant, I'm sure the club and the fans were delighted even afterwards. With all that coverage.
Yeah, it was. It was brilliant. It came at a good time for us as well, because we'd been on a bit of a tricky run. We hadn't won 5 or 6. I think we'd lost 5 or 6 on the spin, and for it to happen against a club like Portsmouth, which is Portsmouth, massive club.
Exactly. Yeah.
There was a good crowd there that night, because they always travel in numbers, despite it being 200-300 mile away.
Yeah.
They brought off. So it was a really good night, and as I said, it was an incredible feeling.
So up to date now, Barry. I mean, you've hung up your boots. The gloves are off. You're now a coach. But before that, you were installed as a player manager. Is that correct? Caretaker manager. Yeah. Our manager Jim Bentley, he left sort of 18 months, just over 18 months ago, something like that. Yeah. And we played down at Stevenage, and he told us after the game, it was the worst kept secret, because we all knew from 3 or 4 days that he was going. So he told us after the game that he was going, and then he pulled me and Kevin Ellison, one of our players, aside and said, "Listen, I've put your names to the board to be interim managers. What do you think?" And we were like, "Yeah, absolutely, definitely." Because Kev had been there 7-8 years as well, loved the club as well, and we thought, anything we can do for the club, we'll do it. So the board came and said, "Listen, we're playing." I think we had Leyton Orient at home. Leyton Orient home the following week. Will you take the game? And we're like, "Yeah, absolutely, no problem." And then it was like, "Well, listen, you can't play," because both myself and Kev we'd been regulars playing every game. Yeah. And what was there a reason why you couldn't play, Barry? What was?
Yeah, well, they said, but they didn't say we couldn't play, but we said, "Listen, it's up to you, but we don't think you should play, because if you're going to do it properly." And then the more we sat down, myself and Kev, we said, "Listen, originally he was going to manage from the sidelines, I was going to play."
Yeah.
And then we sort of said, "Listen, if we want to do this properly, if we want to do it right and give it everything, we can't. We can't play on Saturday." So we said, right, we made the decision. And we hadn't won a home all season. And this was, I think, end of October, November. So we took ourselves out of the team. Obviously, took training that week with the help of the other staff, who were brilliant with us, because we were both complete novices in it.
Yeah.
Picked the team, and to be fair, we made some difficult decisions as well. We had to leave a couple of players out who had been playing. We thought, right, listen, this is how we want to go about it.
Yeah.
And the reaction we got from the players was just incredible. We beat Leyton Orient 1-0. Yeah. The buzz in the stadium, it was honestly, it was unbelievable.
Excellent.
I don't think I've ever been as tired after any game of football.
And you didn't even play.
I was after that.
Yeah.
Didn't even play. Just completely drained. So you can see and that's only one game.
Yeah.
You can imagine the stress that actual managers go under every game. It was just. But it was fantastic, absolutely fantastic, and so that for me, just to have that on my CV as well, and say that I've managed a club that I love, albeit only for 2 games, but it was an incredible moment.
And now you're a coach now, goalkeeping coach at the club. How does that feel when you walk into the club every day? You're not a player anymore, but you're still part of the staff, and you're still there helping the club. How does that feel?
I love it. I absolutely love the coaching side of things. It took a little bit getting used to, because the move happened sort of mid-season. After those 2 games that we managed, I played on for not playing because the new manager came in and kept the same team. For about a month, I kept training, and then he asked me to be sort of player goalkeeping coach, and I said, yeah, absolutely, this is what I want to do. I want the job.
Yeah.
And then he pulled me aside and he said, listen, I want a full-time goalkeeping coach, but does it mean you stop playing? I said, yeah, I'll do it. I think it would have been my last season anyway.
You were ready. You were facing it.
Yeah, I was ready. I've had a few injuries over the years. My wrist, my hips, everything was training was getting a bit of a grind. I'd play on a Saturday. I wouldn't feel fully myself to train. I'd train obviously on the Monday and Tuesday, but I wouldn't feel fully myself till the Thursday. So the move happened probably 6-7 months earlier than anticipated. But it was an opportunity I couldn't turn down. It was a difficult one not say difficult one, but you go straight from being one of the lads in the changing room to all of a sudden you're a staff member, and naturally, and in any job, you're not one of the lads anymore. You're part of the management, so you're spoken to differently. You're treated differently. The room might go a little bit. Certainly with new players who come in, the room might go a little bit quiet when you come in because he's staff now. He's not one of the lads.
And do you think do you think that's right, Barry? Do you think that's the way it should be?
You have to. Yeah, you have to. You can't be one of the lads anymore. Yeah. Obviously, there's 5 or 6 of the lads there now who were players when I was a player, so they're still good friends. But sort of when you're in that environment now, it's more business like.
Yeah.
You still have a little laugh and a joke, but certainly not to the extent that it used to be when you were one of the lads in the dressing room.
Okay, Barry, I have to talk to you about closer to home matters. Our current Irish international setup. Our current setup isn't too good. Let's put it that way.
That's a difficult question to last.
It's very difficult. It's very difficult as a fan and supporter to watch. In the last couple of games, at least, we see our football has gotten a little bit more charismatic. We've learned to pass the ball. We've learned to put a bit of play together, but still the end results just aren't there. How do you find the current setup yourself?
Obviously I still speak to quite a lot of my friends back home, and there's only maybe 1 or 2 that agree with what I say. This. I can understand wanting to play this pretty football. Yeah. But do we have the players to play that type of football? In my opinion, we don't.
Yeah.
I don't think we've got the player. I admire trying to play football the right way, but if you don't have the players to play that way, why play that way?
Yeah.
And that's the way I look at it, and I think that's shown in the results. You can play out from the back, you can play through midfield, but if the players aren't there to play that way, which I don't believe they are yet, I don't think you should play that way.
Yeah, I think the problem,
because ultimately it's a results business.
That's the thing. It's down to literally, you can't just hold water and say, "Well, in a month or so we'll get this right." It's down to you have to win every game.
Yeah,
that counts.
Every game counts.
Yeah, so it's
every game counts, and it's a results business. And as I said, I admire what Stephen Kenny's trying to do. I really do, but I don't think the current crop of players are suited to play in that way.
Yeah.
I mean, you've just got to make yourself not go back to the old school, certainly not go back, but make yourself a little bit more harder to beat. If you've got to go route one, go route one.
Yeah. It's
make yourself more difficult to beat.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think the mishmash of players that we might have currently, between experienced and new players coming on, the new players coming in are hungry. They really want to play for the country. They want to do well. You can show that they're able to play football, just maybe not this type of game. Maybe not this type of style of football.
I agree. I don't think that style of football suits the current crop of players. Yeah. So that's why I said just get yourself organised, make yourself a really difficult team to beat. Do the nasty side of things a little bit more. Tackle, header, be tougher. But until a different group of players maybe comes in that are more equipped to play that certain style of football that he's trying to implement, I don't think you should play it.
Yeah. There needs to be a turning point. Unfortunately, it might be too late at this stage. But do you think they will have faith in Kenny for maybe the next campaign?
Yeah, I think so, and I think personally, I think they should, because I'll be honest, I think whoever is managing the team at the minute isn't going to have the pool of players to pick from, to be successful.
Yeah.
So fair enough. Let Stephen build it the way he wants to do. But I just think he's got to change. In my opinion, obviously, he's a professional manager. He's a hell of a lot more experienced and a lot more wise in the situation than me. But I just think, looking from the outside, that just change the style of play a little bit. Yeah, you can still play your football, but certainly not, in my opinion, to the extent that they're trying to do.
Okay. Barry, thank you very much for taking the time. We've went over a little bit longer. We said it'd be 15 minutes. It's here nearly a half an hour. I just have to say, one of the lads was on when we put the promo up for the show. Vivian O'Connor, he said he's looking forward to this interview. So you can say hello to him there if you want.
Big goalie fan is Viv. He's always been in touch, and the only problem is he's a Spurs fan.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Exactly.
We won't hold that against him.
No, we won't, unfortunately. No, we'll let him go. We'll let him go with that one. Barry, the best of luck with the playoffs. We hope you make it there, and we hope there's fans as well if you do get there. We'll be rooting for you, and we'll be looking on. And sure, look, you might be back in Wicklow sometime soon, so say hello to us.
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, and all this COVID stuff goes away, and we'll all sit down and have a beer together. All right?
Oh, sounds brilliant.
Barry, thank you very much. All right, best of luck.
Thanks very much for having me. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yep.
Back chat with Mick and Rowe on Wicked 102.